Personally, I'll write my dialogues after I've finished my writing workflow. This means that I write dialogues only after I've put down the action lines, what is happening here and there, transitions, how one scene moves into the other, and then I develop the characters. That's when I write dialogues to go with them. The easiest way, obviously, is to immerse yourself as a writer in the environment that you're creating for your character. So if, for instance, your character is from Zongo, you want to physically visit Zongo so you see how everything happens there. So the language you write reflects the environment you are. But if you are not able to do that, then one way of doing it is to do secondary research, which is when you actually go to a library and read about something similar to what you're doing, or watch some movies like the ones that you want to shoot or write about, and then see how other people have done it so that you take inspiration from that to write your dialogues. Language and communication is usually not just about speaking and talking. It also involves body language. So when I'm developing my characters, I focus on the body language that I create for them, the other unspoken part of their lives, the action parts. So here you want to see how the person walks, how they relate, how they dress, how they eat, their favorite stuff. You want to put all that together, and out of which a language will automatically emerge. We know that in the real world, everybody has a very different, specific way of talking. But with voice, we are not talking just about what emanates from the mouth, but the way you arrange your words and how you bring it out. So for a unique voice, you want to see if the person stutters, if, let's say, they speak pidgin, if they have some Liberian in their background and they have a certain accent, if they make allusions to certain ideas. If say the person was Muslim, for instance, and they were speaking, instead of saying thank God, they'll probably say thank Allah. So you bring those things in and make each character unique in that sense. Usually, conversations are not linear in real life. It's not like one person talks and speaks and then they finish, period, and then another person starts talking. Usually for good interactive conversations, as the person speaks, you interrupt with another thing, especially if the ideas are about the same notions. So if you want your dialogues to become alive, what you do is that you deliberately break the line of conversation from one person and mix it with another person. That's another way of developing a particular narrative. If, say, they are talking about going to Kumasi, before they reach Kumasi, the second person can step in and mention something towards Kumasi, and that makes it seamless and more lifelike. Exposition is decent, especially when you don't want the character to be the only one talking about themselves and where they're coming from. Exposition or sometimes narration can come in to show where the person is coming. You can use voice of God to say certain things about the person, and so that instead of explaining using language, everything that they're about, they can just use one word and then other things will complement it. For budding screenwriters, the first advice is that you should show more than tell. So show, don't tell. Show because films are about action and about acting. So allow your characters to act out, and then where necessary, you put in words where they will complement the acting that they're doing. Secondly, you should write between the lines. Don't make stuff too obvious. Don't say things that are redundant. Don't say things that are boring and obvious from looking at it. If they're acting it out, do not repeat what they are doing in words. So just use the words wisely and sparsely just to complement. So right between the lines, and don't make the lines and the words too obvious and too literal. Thirdly, you should avoid saying the same things over and over and over again. So don't be redundant. Use redundancy, repeat words and statements only if it will advance the development of the plot. Otherwise, it becomes really tedious on the person who's looking at the film. Fourthly, is to stretch your information in the sense that if you wanted to talk about, say, the independence of Ghana, you do not necessarily have to say everything in one particular speech. You can spread the information along the lines so that it does not become very boring. And then finally, make sure that when different characters are playing against and with each other, you spread the information among them so that one person can start. Then remember we talked about interruptions, another person can interrupt, so that by the end of it you can get it complete full. All in all, the idea is to make the language that is spoken, the way it is spoken, and how it's received as lifelike as possible. And this brings out life into your dialogues and makes your movies much better. In conclusion, remember that dialogues only complement acting. So focus on quality words that will be memorable, but more importantly, advance the plots that you are developing. You all remember words like, "I'll be back." "Yes, looking at you, kid." These are classic lines in dialogues that make you remember the movies, the actors, the imports, and so focus on the action and then use words only to complement them.